In this video, we'll prepare a Week 16 cash lineup on the main slate for DraftKings. Plus, we've got a special guest this week and an announcement about our schedule for the rest of the season. All coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants. Eric, what a week that you had this week. I thought with Zay Jones and Jalen Hurts in my lineup, I was going to kill it. I did. I was looking great. And then I look up, and once again, this week, not quite the 200 points that you did on FanDuel a week ago, but you demolished the competition, would have been right up there in any competition. What a week. Congratulations to you yet again, DraftKings champion for week 3.
I've got good news. We are going to have free contests, not just for our commenters, but for everyone who's subscribed. And when we come back for Subscriber Appreciation Week. So yes, we are going to take a break, Michael and I, for the holidays. So we will not have coverage for week 17 and the crazy week 18, where a lot of people are rested. But we will be back for coverage in the playoffs, including Wild Card Week, where we will have Subscriber Appreciation Week. So if you are not subscribed yet, you better smash that subscribe button. And by the way, a little tip, hit the notification button, because our free contest to enter is limited on the number of people we can get in. So you're going to want to join as soon as possible. And we'll put that in the video for Wild Card Week. Okay, Michael, we have week 16 that we're going to do. So we're going to need a little help. Who we got helping us for week 16?
Yeah, so speaking of the holidays, that means that I can bring my college son back from school. That's Coleman. Here he is, back to show us, to make sure that we do our job this week. Sound good?
No, sounds great. It is always awesome to have Coleman back in. Coleman, let me quickly ask, how you doing in fantasy this year?
Well, I'm in the playoffs in both my leagues, number 1 seed, headed to the finals. So I'm feeling pretty good.
We're usually rivals. We'll team together and put together a week 16 on DraftKings main slate for Saturday. And I will start off talking about the player I think should most be in this lineup. I'm going to spend some money to bring in Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry this week is a home favorite, 7 points, which game script is so important for this Tennessee team because they are so ineffective when they're coming from behind. But as a 7-point favorite, they should be ahead. A solid 24 implied total. And Michael and Coleman, he faces the 32nd rush defense and the 32nd against running backs, the Houston Texans. This is a dream matchup. And you might be saying, but how do we know that Henry's going to do well against Houston? The stats show that he should, but has he ever done it before? Yeah. Earlier this year, week 8, 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that's not just an anomaly. In the last 4 games, Henry's actually done better than that against Houston. This is his average in the last 4 times that he's faced Houston. 30 carries, 223 yards, and 2.25 touchdowns. Man, there is no more sure thing than Derrick Henry against Houston. Throw in the fact that this year he's actually getting involved in the pass game a little more than in the past with a full PPR. That's huge. What do you guys think? Derrick Henry, he's expensive, but I love him.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth right there. He is absolutely a king against Houston. This is just what the doctor orders for the Titans, who are all of a sudden looking over their shoulder at the Jacksonville Jaguars. They can't afford to not beat up on Houston, take advantage of it. Houston, actually a team that's looked pretty good the last 2 weeks, could have beat the Cowboys and the Chiefs. You got to make sure you get the win. And how are you going to do that? With Derrick Henry. What do you think, Coleman?
Yeah, and I think it's even better for Derrick Henry that the Texans have been playing okay the last few games, because it forces him to stay in the game for 4 full quarters, whereas maybe before he gets those 200 yards in 3 quarters. So we'll see what he can do this time around, but I think it's pretty safe.
All right, so we've got Derrick Henry, and then admittedly, I just broke the bank there. But I will save us money with the other running back. At sub $6,000, I want to get Jerick McKinnon in our lineup. I am so excited to get him in the lineup because he was a part of my big winning lineup last week at 5,200. They upped his price expectedly, but not that much. He's still sub $6,000, and he's in a situation with an equally good matchup. He is at home. He is a monster favorite, 10-point favorite against Seattle. A great implied total. And I know what some of our viewers are thinking. They're thinking, but what about Isaiah Pacheco? Doesn't he share carries with him? Yes, he does. But the pie is big in this game. And even though Pacheco will out carry him, there is more and more trust with Jerick McKinnon. Pacheco had a terrible fumble late in that game, and he has outsnapped Pacheco 57% to 43 and 62 to 35 in the last two games. And it all comes down to receptions on DraftKings. He is a PPR master. So what do you guys think for 5,900?
I think Eric Lee wouldn't have done anything in fantasy football if it wasn't for McKinnon right now. if it wasn't for the overtime last play of the game for Kansas City. So understand why you're in love with this guy. You're going to be hoping he does well again this next week. So, of course, you're putting him in the lineup. So I have to root for him, even though he might be going against me.
well, Michael, I have to be in love with this guy if you let me rant a little bit. Because my first overall pick was Jonathan Taylor, who has been the biggest disappointment ever. And he wrapped up my playoffs with getting injured after one play on Saturday. Anyway, what are your
Fair
thoughts?
enough. Well, Eric, thank you for saving us a little bit of money. I know we need to save some more money. So I'm going to go with a guy at the wide receiver position who is a bargain this week. And it's, I guess, because DraftKings didn't know about a broken finger of your Seahawk, who's on my fantasy team, which means Marquise Goodwin at $4,300 is going to feel like a bargain. And actually, he's starting to get really involved. This last week against the Niners was a tough week, but the week before that against Carolina, he had a nice week. You can see that he has got the eye of Geno Smith. And so with Lock It Out, yes, of course, if we could afford Matt Metcalf, who's at $7,100, I think, or quite a bit more, I'd go with him. But we got to save some money. I think Marquise Goodwin's going to benefit from Lockett's broken finger.
Yeah, and with them going up against the Chiefs, I mean, the Chiefs can score as many points as they want on offense, but their defense isn't great, right? And so that leaves Goodwin to have plenty of time to make plenty of cuts and even score a couple touchdowns against the Chiefs if Geno Smith can get him the ball. And with Lock It Out, that makes him their number 2. So I think he's a solid play.
I fully, as a Seahawks fan, I fully endorse this pick. So the Seahawks use a lot of 2 wide receiver sets, and Geno Smith, who is one of the highest, is the highest completion percentage guy in a PPR league. Marquise Goodwin is going to be so valuable, and at 4,300, he is a steal.
So Coleman, who do we want to pair with Goodwin?
Well, I think we're going to head over to New Orleans and pick up the rookie Chris Olave. He's coming in at $6,100 this week, which, isn't terrible. But they're going up against the Browns, who are not great defensively against the pass. And if you look at his numbers over the past few weeks, I mean, he's pretty consistent. Even last week, he had a down week and still got 4 targets with 53 yards. And so he's going to get plenty of points for you. And I like you said, with Derrick Henry being our first pick, we need to save some money. So he's definitely a good pick at only $6,100 being their number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, one caveat on this game, it could be really windy. Eric and I were talking a little bit about that before. Wind doesn't necessarily have an impact on the short pass game, which, Olave is definitely the go-to target in New Orleans. I guess there's a new speedster in town who may be taking away a few of those targets, but he's more of a downfield threat, as is Chris Olave. the sure-handed Chris Olave. I like it. Good pick.
Yeah, and I just will say that because we're doing this on Monday night, which is earlier than we normally do, it's kind of our first look lineup. If you're watching this Thursday or later, look in the comment section, because if we have a revised lineup based on more information that happened on Monday night, our relation to the weather, we will update this lineup. If you're watching it before Thursday, come back to the video and check out the comment section.
Who else we got, Eric, at the wide receiver spot?
So, we're down to a remaining average player of 5,020. And I don't know whose fault, maybe mine for Derrick Henry. So I want to save us some money at this spot. But is it hard to imagine, guys, that I am going to give you, I'm not going to tell you the name yet. I'm going to give you the number one pass catcher on his team. Okay, I didn't say number one wide receiver. I said number one pass catcher who's gotten 11 and 12 targets, and he faces a pretty bad pass defense. You probably are thinking $7,000, $6,000, $5,000. No, at only $4,000, I thought $800, $4,800. It is Drake London is the mystery man, guys. What are your thoughts on Drake London here facing Baltimore's 25th ranked offense?
Yeah, Baltimore, that's the way you attack them. They've been really tough on the run. You've had to throw against them. He had a really great game. He dropped a tough pass in this last week, which really cost Atlanta at the end of that game. But yeah, he's the number one guy there. Yeah, it's a little bit tough quarterback situation, but I'm not sure that Ritter necessarily is a downgrade from Mariota, who tends to have to run the ball a little bit more. So I'd like to see Ritter get a little bit more hot. London's going to benefit from that. We got to save the money. I think it's a good pick. Let's go to tight end. I'll keep in the spirit of saving us some money. So we can't afford Travis Kelce, unfortunately, who continues to perform even when he doesn't necessarily get into the end zone. We're going to go back to that Tennessee-Houston game, because Houston isn't just bad against the run. They're bad against tight ends specifically in the passing game. And I don't actually know how to say his name. I've heard it said a few times, and I've heard some people say it differently, but he's starting to get involved heavily. He's averaging 5+ targets over the last 4 games. He's getting downfield. He's even gotten into the end zone. He's pretty impressive. I think that this is a nice little bargain. We need it for some of the other picks that we have. So let's go ahead and save these dollars. What do you think, Eric?
Oh, I like it. What you really want when you're going cheap at tight end is a nice solid floor, and he gives that to you in a PPR league. He's getting consistent receptions. So given his price and given his matchup against Houston, who really can't stop anybody, I like it.
So Coleman, let's go to the quarterback position. It'd be nice to get Josh Allen in the game. I know he's got a nice spicy matchup, but he's probably too expensive.
And Geno Smith up against Kansas City, I said it before when we were talking about Marquise Goodwin. The Kansas City defense is not great, and so Geno's going to have plenty of time back there to pass, and he's always a run threat too, right? So it's a good having that dual threat quarterback, and he's been phenomenal this season, and nobody expected him to perform this well. And so I think against Kansas City, he's going to have a great game. Even with Lockett out, I think he's a pretty safe pick. And like you said, we're saving money at him, only at $5,800.
Yeah, I mean, coming off a tough week against the Niners, who are tough on all quarterbacks. You can see what he's done historically before that. Kansas City has really made a lot of quarterbacks look good from a fantasy perspective because they get ahead and the teams have to throw. And I think that's not going to be any different here for the Seahawks. I like it at $5,800. Coleman, where do we want to go in the flex spot, Coleman?
Well, I think we're going to have to go with my guy who's carried me to the playoffs, Christian McCaffrey. He's an absolute stud. I mean, we're going big here, right? He's $8,800. But look what he's done. Just on the Niners, he's averaging, I don't know what the exact number is, but it's 20+. He's getting over 50 yards rushing and 50 yards receiving on average every game. He's getting a ton of carries for the offense, and they're going up against Washington, who's okay against the run, but keep in mind he's also a passing threat. And Brock Purdy's at quarterback. He's, in that Niners defense where half their offense is just dump off. And so Christian McCaffrey is going to get a ton of carries and probably find his way into the end zone as he has almost every game this year.
Yeah, I agree. Eric, what do you think?
Well, I everything that Coleman said is right on, but I want to add to the fact that without Deebo Samuel, it is so clearly that they have to rely on Christian McCaffrey, and they need to win this. Yes, they already have clinched the NFC West, but they would like to catch Minnesota, who's currently a game ahead of them. So they will want to win this game, and therefore I think they're going to lean heavily on McCaffrey. I watched this last game against Seattle, frustratingly, and it felt like he was playing. They were utilizing him on every play, and I look here, and he had 32 touches, and that's not so surprising.
Yeah, I think the rookie's going to get a little more involved this game, maybe to reprieve McCaffrey a little bit in the run game, but I don't necessarily think that hurts McCaffrey. He's still the go-to guy in the passing game. With Brock Purdy in there, McCaffrey has to get the ball, and he will continue to do that.
Just like always, they're going bargain basement defense. But guys, I cannot believe that one of these defenses are so cheap. And
yeah.
I'm not talking about the Bears and Seahawks.
Exactly. So it's the Eagles. You got to love that they're only $2,200. Yeah, okay, Dallas is a tough offense to go against, but the Dak actually didn't look as his stellar self this last week, and the Eagles looked phenomenal against the Bears. I think that they're one of the best defenses in the league. How in the world are they priced $2,200? Got to take it.
Just look at the production they've given all year. Look, when you have a defense who's a favorite, who is leading the entire NFL in sacks, you expect them to be one of the most expensive defenses on the slate. Instead, they're the third cheapest at only $2,200. Coleman, I believe there was a mistake.
We'll take advantage, and that rounds up what I believe to be a nice lineup. But a couple shout outs. I really like Greg Kittle this week. I think we talked a little bit about the rookie Purdy. I think he relies heavily on Kittle in the wide receiver spot. He's cheaper than Chris Olave. I think DJ Moore is someone to consider. Similar quarterback situation. Really loves the DJ Moore. So a couple people to be thinking about. But I like this lineup. Starting it off with Derrick Henry was the way to go. If you don't get Henry in your lineup this week, shame on you.
And remember, check the comment section. Come back on Thursday, or if it is Thursday, check now and see if we have any changes to this particular lineup. And we kidnapped Coleman, and we did the same breakdown of the Saturday main slate on FanDuel. Check that video out, which is on the screen, and another video we think you enjoy. I hope everybody has a safe and happy holiday season.
Merry Christmas.